Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform. Today's presentation is a little bit different. We recently had the honor of having John Paul Rice, a Hollywood producer, on our Insider Insight show, which is part of our subscription service. The subscribers on our platform thought that this interview was so important and provided information that you're not going to get from any other source. They asked me to make it available on the YouTube platform, and I gladly am doing that. If it were not for our subscribers, this YouTube channel would not exist. Either would our radio show Operation Freedom, which airs every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern, or our platform, DaveJanda.com. I hope you'll consider to be a member of our subscription family and our Freedom family so that we can continue to produce this type of content and then provide it to others. John Paul Rice is a unique individual in the Hollywood community. He's taken on the issue of human trafficking, of child exploitation, of the pedophile networks. His movie, A Child's Voice, can easily be obtained through Amazon and a number of other sources. The bottom line is that John Paul Rice is blazing a trail like no other in Hollywood. And he is actually gaining allies. He is fighting hand-to-hand combat, if you will, at ground zero. Ground zero being Hollywood as it relates to human trafficking and the pedophile networks. I now turn our presentation over to John Paul Rice and our interview we did on our Insider Insight show. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll join us every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern, on our radio show. It's live. It's free. You can stream it live at DaveJanda.com for free. In addition, I hope you'll become a part of our Freedom family at DaveJanda.com. Now on to John Paul Rice. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah.
Okay. The truth is being sheltered when you feel you're consistently being played. When there's all these inconsistencies and it's consistently inconsistent, you're being played.
Yeah. Now I don't.
And then there's the other theory, John Paul, and this is kind of something out of a movie, that he was moved out, that he was switched out, which it's not a 0% possibility. On the other hand, it's a pretty difficult thing to pull off because you got a lot of eyes, let alone the video cameras that were working, that weren't working, then were working again. But you got a lot of eyes. You got a lot of people with cell phones, around the facilities that you would think, so there's a whole lot there's a lot going on here that maybe we'll never know, but hopefully over time things will get a little bit at least clearer out of this murk that has developed.
Yeah, I think ultimately our distraction to Epstein in trying to solve his death is the ultimate distraction away from the crimes that he committed.
Well, that's right. And that's where it falls on people like yourself and myself and the independent media to not let that happen. Because what I pointed out was, look, whether he was suicided or it was natural causes or it was suicide or he was murdered or whether he was in a witness protection program, the bottom line is he's off the grid.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Gone.
Right? And the good news is it appears, according to legal folks, it means that all of this evidence that has been accumulated, well, we're going to not kind of get bogged down for a couple years and people trying to suppress the search warrants, that's supposedly will move forward.
Yes.
I'm told, and that in turn will bring many of these co-conspirators and all these other people that were involved in these activities, whether it's at his mansion in New York on 71st Street, or New Mexico, or in Palm Beach, or in Little St. James Island, Pito Island, or whatever. That'll bring all that forward quicker. And the other thing, I think, John Paul, is it keeps it on the front burner, where the bought-off lamestream fake media cannot shove this now under the rug, right?
Right. It's just not. He's arrested and it'll set trial. That's over with. So now we have an investigation into the murder or death of a man that is going to stay in the back of everyone's minds. And then with this other information, my guess would be between now and 2020 or 2021, at the right time, they would release the names of people with arrests, because you can't just name people on something like this and expect there to not be some kind of public backlash, or, like if you were to come out with some names of people implicated in this, they would have to have the airtight evidence, and they'd have to make the arrests. Because at this point, you're talking about, we've gone from a post-WikiLeaks, Podesta email, to Me Too, to Epstein era of transparency and citizen journalism. And you guys are off the charts amazing now, because you have tens of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people turning to alternative media for answers. And so this isn't going to go away for them until it's fully resolved in the minds of people enough so that they have some closure with this, to know that the people who perpetrated these crimes against children are in fact in jail and are totally disgraced. That is the bottom line, because anybody that knows like you and I, that know this stuff and what it means and what it's connected to and how it will shape the future society of the world that we live in, having these people in power, that can't ever happen again. We can never return to this time ever again. I think that's the most important thing that we have to take away from this, is that we're in a new time. We're in a time where we have eyes and ears on every single detail that these people do, and that it's going to only grow in discourse and disruption the more information people learn. And if there is nothing served in terms of justice, society will fall apart. A certain part of it will, because there's not going to be anybody to trust anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's already bad enough with what the mainstream or the lamestream media does to sow division in people. Make them attack each other and hate each other over nothing, over a construct of skin color or a label of racism. But this kind of thing, this is the crux of the issue, which is to pull back and say, these people here in the highest positions of power, when they went on TV and they were sold to you as a certain type of personality, an on-air persona, a brand, and they were doing this to children, there isn't going to be any trust left for anybody in the country without justice being done. And new laws coming about as a result of the consciousness shift that is going on globally. I think that's where we're headed.
John Paul, would it surprise you down the line if you found out that through Epstein and this network that was created with him, for him, along with him, through the intelligence agencies, that when they investigated Little St. James Island further, and I believe they already have, would it surprise you that they would find that some of these children were murdered, and in fact some of these children could have been utilized, their organs, for illegal organ harvesting, and a black network for organ procurement?
It wouldn't surprise me at all, given what I've read on Corey Lynn Diggs, listened to your show, Crazy Days and Nights, and numbers of other people who have all talked about this for years. I think that there is a I don't want to say it's a rumor, but that they have the radar to be able to look underneath. Even if they buried those tunnels, they have the ability to look underneath the island inside, and as well as anything around the island that could have been displaced, such as bones, that sort of thing. I will say this, I think that one of the questions that hasn't been asked, and this was in a small detailed report where the media likes to just tell you he's a pervert, one of the things that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly did or wanted to do and made his intentions known as early as the early 2000s, when he was around all of these MIT, Harvard, incredible gene splicing people, and he was hanging out with them, supposedly, I mean, they named the names, was that he had in his mind where he wanted to have like a harem of 20 women that he would seed his genes in. Right?
Yeah, that's supposedly what the ranch in New Mexico was all about.
Exactly. So the question is, did he fulfill that?
Right.
Odds are very high. And two, what happened to those children of all those women that got pregnant and had those kids? What I think today we're going to find out is something much later on down the road, something so horrifying, because you got to consider that there are tens of millions of loving, caring women and men who love their children so much that upon hearing something like what we just talked about, they would throw up and they wouldn't be able to go to work that day, knowing that that was actually done.
And that they were unaware, right? You know, as a parent, you'd like to think you're aware of your surroundings enough that your kids are protected. I can tell you as a parent, when I became knowledgeable about these issues years ago, it still makes me sick today, John Paul. It still makes me sick today. It's and I believe you're right. I believe that a lot of this horrifying, but not all of it. A lot of this horrifying information and the situations that have been occurring will become knowledgeable, not because of the bought-off lamestream fake media, but because of independent media.
Yes. Ultimately, you guys are doing the job that nobody else is doing. It's become so clear today, the propaganda that's being messaged, not just on the left or the right. It's just it is an illusion of a reality. As I look at what Ronald Bernard and others have said, and I would tell your audience, if you want an example, just a first-hand example, there are two videos that you should see. You should see Anake Lucas when she was talking about her being a 6-year-old in an elite pedophile ring where she was brought to a block of wood with the stains of blood of children on it who had previously been murdered, and it was her turn to die. That's number one. Number two is the testimony.
Say that name again.
Anake Lucas. It looks like Anarchy, but it's pronounced Anake. Anake Lucas. She's amazing. She's seen our film, A Child's Voice. It deeply disturbed her and moved her. But she and Ronald Bernard have both seen it, and they both gave their endorsement of our work and what we're trying to do with this movie. Ronald was deeply touched by the film, and Ronald's testimony in the was one that he did about a year or two ago. I think it was the INTJ, International Tribunal for Justice. But his testimony about his own personal life, growing up, being brought up in that system, in that network, and being offered to sacrifice kids, and how he rejected doing that, and how they began to systematically destroy him.
And his name was Ron Bernard.
Ronald Bernard, yeah. Now, both of those individuals have been, by other people who follow this and know this, have both said they seem extremely credible. And they've been very consistent. And they've talked about what all of this means, and they've talked about the dark forces and the central bankers and everything. I mean, it's not just this one aspect of it, but he knows how the financial systems work. He knows how the institutions work, and how all of this is an illusion of reality that's been placed over us with the help of the mainstream media to make people believe that this is the world we're living in versus the real one that we're living in, which gives us all the wars, all the debt, all the poisoning of our ecosystem. Those are the people at the very top who do this stuff to children, and worse, those are the ones running the show. Those are the ones running the bank. Those are the ones running the fiscal policy. And by the time it gets out to you and I through a politician, it's got this nice rosy name to it. It's going to do all these things, but it's really just to centralize all of their power. And for us, this is the awakening that we need. We have somebody in the White House, I believe, that is at least trying and wanting to do good things for people. I would point people to the speech he gave the other night in Pennsylvania as an indicator. If you watch the whole thing, Trump came out and spoke, and he did his usual campaign stuff, but at the very end, it was one of the most beautiful and humane things I've ever seen a president do, which was telling the audience that he is there for them. And I've never seen that in a politician. I've never seen it so authentically stated. That I would be super surprised if that wasn't true, at least that he's trying from his own point of view as to what he can do to help. And that we have to take a step back from all of this for a second and say, 3 years ago, was any of this possible? Was any of this possible happening with Hillary Clinton as president? Never.
We wouldn't be having this conversation, John Paul.
You and I would be doing it from a FEMA camp.
No, I don't think. I think we would have already left the FEMA camp feet first. I really believe. I'm very sincere when I say that. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yes. Yeah. I'm grateful to be here with you, Dave.
I am too, John Paul, and I'm grateful for everything you've done and Edgar has done. John Paul, Epstein, he had ties. He had ties into Hollywood, significant ties, correct?
Yes.
Big name people.
George Clooney is one of them that's been named. Crazy Days and Nights recently released a blind item about him, and it's talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. And
Ghislaine Maxwell being the right-hand person to Jeffrey Epstein, his handler, reportedly for the intelligence agencies. Actually, she was just found on the East Coast hanging out with some 43-year-old tech guy who sits on the Council on Foreign Relations. That just came out. Go ahead. So George Clooney, he had ties to Weinstein, right?
Ties to Weinstein. This is the thing. There is on Crazy Days and Nights, I want to point your viewers to this because they have a diagram up there, and if you Google it, you'll actually find it. But they have a diagram of Epstein's network just based on open source intelligence today. So they imagine it's even much bigger than the one that they've mapped out. But they have him there, and they've got diagrams, and it's very well done with color coding to talk about who was involved in sex crimes with children, or who took bribes, or who was blackmailed, or who they believe was blackmailed.
And that's Crazy Days and Nights.
Crazy Days and Nights. NT Lawyer on Twitter has been dropping bombs about this stuff for years. And he dropped a bomb about Epstein Island 2 years ago, which implicated 3 massive, major A-level directors, one of which some people have speculated is Bryan Singer, although Bryan Singer's been brought up in other charges of molestation of young boys, and rape and pedophilia and having associations with other pedophiles in the industry. These are Dan Schneider, connected to Nickelodeon, who's connected to Disney.
Right.
That person that recently was arrested and charged at Disney, I think it was the former chair or vice chair or some.
Yeah, I think vice chair. Yeah, big name. Yeah.
He was the one who oversaw Dan Schneider and hired him over the network for the last 20, 30 years. There are people lawyering up here in town, and I think what you're going to see is this. There's the Epstein part of it, which is going to implicate major players in Hollywood. I can't say names because I don't know for certain. I only want to say what I know for certain that's been published because, I live here in LA.
Yeah.
And unless I can carry a gun, I don't stand a chance. If I say something and it comes out, and they could come after me easily.
Right. No, we get it. We get it.
Right. But the truth of the matter is that all of these people that have been involved with Epstein for years come from Hollywood. Most of them, many of them, come from Hollywood and A-level people. people that have been in the public eye for many, many, many years, that have certain reputations that have been built up over years. And what's going to happen is once that facade, when that name comes out, then you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are going to look even deeper. Mm-hmm. They're going to dig even deeper with that name, with the knowledge being confirmed, and then looking at all the associations of that person with all these other people and how they relate to Epstein and the other people. This is going to go on forever, but more importantly, the next wave is going to be all the lawsuits, civil and criminal lawsuits that are going to go through the court system for the ones that are not caught up with Epstein and the evidence that they have on them. It's going to be the next wave of Me Too, which is going to be Kids Too, and all the other people that have been silenced for so long. I think what the SDNY did when they made their announcement, and they were talking about other victims to come forward. There was also a call to the people who could be implicated to come forward. And so that's the part that nobody knows yet, who has already admitted to cooperating to bring in other people. And that all of this is going to tie together in the long term. I think that for Hollywood, they are in major trouble right now because their economic model alone is sinking. They're consolidating. The business side of this industry is going to go down by the hundreds of millions in the next few years, not only because of the economy, but it has to do with their business model of a top-heavy industry with multi-billions of dollars and those hierarchies getting steeper and everybody else below getting cut out. Like I have friends who have been in the industry for 10 years. They're working as Lyft drivers right now because they don't have enough money to go around and people aren't watching like they used to. But when all of this comes out, they are going to be dealing with such a S show. They're not going to have anywhere to run. And so the industry, by force, will have to reestablish itself in such a way that they're not going to be able to recover from any of this, even if it's just a few names and they try to spin it. Those people's movies and all the people that they're connected to, and especially companies, will go down in flames in a very short period of time, especially when you're talking about kids. Underage teens, that's one thing. When you get into the single digits, nobody has any mercy for that at that point. None. That's not a bunch of old guys paying girls with money. That's you preying on a kid.
Right.
You're preying on a kid, and you're involved with people who were doing this to other children, and you had no problem with it. You took the check. You turned the other way. You spoke favorably about these individuals. And if anything, I'll give you a clear indication, Meryl Streep is well aware of who Harvey Weinstein was and when she was praising him.
Oh, yeah, she was standing right? Oh, bow down, Harvey, right?
Right. So now...
Oh, and he had a lot of good friends that supported him. Oprah, right? Oprah, Meryl Streep, I mean, they were all, Harvey, right? And they all knew what he was doing.
How could they not? They hung out with him.
By the way, the other tie with Harvey, in addition to being good friends with Epstein, and you mentioned this earlier when we were speaking about this, Harvey had a goon squad around him trying to suppress the people who were speaking out about him, and they were tied to Mossad, Israeli intelligence. Just so happens there's a tie right there to Jeffrey Epstein with his ties to Israeli intelligence through Ghislaine Maxwell, his handler.
How many other Mossad agents are in the country?
Yeah, right. Great question.
And why were they not... who was tracking them? They obviously had to come into the country a certain way. They had to declare where they were from.
Right.
So I think Hollywood is they're on borrowed time.
Let's talk a little bit more about the borrowed time at the end here, and that is there was a movie release going to occur through Universal called The Hunt.
Yes. Right.
So the very people that are trying to limit everyone's Second Amendment rights. They put a movie out about elites hunting Trump supporters, deplorables. Can you imagine if... So was this a psyops that they were trying... Were they trying to instigate some Trump supporters to go off, or were they also trying to get in Trump supporters' heads to institute fear that, hey, if you don't shut up and if you don't, you got to shut up trying to be a Trump supporter because you could get hunted if this goes south. Well, what was... When they were thinking about this movie, and actually made the movie. John Paul, you know this industry. What were they? What were their goals? Do you believe?
I'm going to come from a little bit of a conspiracy angle, only because there's a basis of truth from it. Is that what I have seen Hollywood do, and I did not pay as closely attention to this, but they do soft disclosures of things in their films, and so it's based on a truthful thing.
Right.
Are there elites that hunt people? Are there hunting parties? Well, if you follow some of the things you not just read online, but other people who have testified, they say yes, they in fact do have hunting parties, and they do so with kids. All right, so now they're taking that and they're putting it into this context of a political, ideological battle. To me, that's messaging that they have done for the last 3 years and have only intensified to make it so overt and obvious to anybody who's paying attention that even in the last week, if you want a clear example as to what kind of message they're trying to put out, which is white supremacists, Nazis, and that if you go with Reza Aslan, he's saying they need to be eradicated. He's not the first one. It's just that all of this came with the shootings. But this is a message from Hollywood in The Good Fight back in April. In their season finale, they had a guy who broke the fourth wall, the main character, one of the main characters, an African-American woke guy who was talking to the camera, talking about, yeah, you know what? It is a good thing to punch a Nazi, and maybe we should. So this whole thing, I think, is designed clearly to incite one group of people while empowering the other emotionally, to condition them to saying, yeah, get them, right? Get these people who are backward thinking, who don't. It's the same crap that they did in 2016. They're not just putting it into a movie.
Right.
And ultimately what this is going to do for them is it achieves the goal of you sow and seed this dialogue into society, and it becomes part of the conversation, right? It becomes that it's not, they don't care about the film and how it's received.
No.
The effect, the desired effect, is that you get millions of people accepting these views through entertainment, through humor,
right,
through emotion.
Desensitizes them.
Absolutely. And so when a Trump supporter is killed or murdered, got justice. Yeah. He was a racist.
Shouldn't have worn the red hat.
Shouldn't have worn the red. I've actually had people out here, and I'm not kidding you, when the Covington thing came up, I had a lawyer who I had known for 20 years question and ask me. He didn't care what the truth was about the media or the kid. Didn't matter. He said, did that kid have a right to wear that hat? And I said, yeah, he did. And he goes, no, he didn't. This is a lawyer.
Don't ever hire him.
He blocked me.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
He actually blocked himself. You know, it's interesting on this Hunt movie. The guy behind it, the producer. Have you ever run into this guy, Jason Blum? He was the producer.
Yeah.
Have you ever run? What's that?
I haven't run into him, but I know who he is.
Yeah. So who did he train under? Who was his mentor? But Harvey Weinstein. It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle with these folks.
They're all. It's all the same group. It really is. This is not. It's such a. Everybody says, well, it's such a big industry, it's such a big town, but such a small town. Everybody knows each other. Right. I mean, everybody at the top knows each other. They all play in the same.
That's how they got there.
Same world. Yeah.
John Paul, how can folks, because they need to view and they need to share a child's voice.
Yeah.
Because it truly is an incredible impact on your life when you watch it. How can folks watch the movie at this point?
You can go to Amazon and you can rent it on any of Amazon's Prime. You know, they have it available for Prime members. They have it available for rental and download. Also, if you want to help us the most, go to Vimeo On Demand.
Vimeo On Demand, Vimeo.
Right, and then you look up A Child's Voice there. It's right there. You can rent it or you can buy it to own. And here's what I would say to anybody who sees the film. Make sure you get as many people in front to watch it. We need, especially now, because the Epstein thing is just the beginning. Everybody has that already in the public consciousness. The next thing that we need is for people to have confirmation and begin doing their own research. Don't get falling for the mainstream narratives in the murder and all of that, because that's where they want you to go.
Right.
What they don't want you to go is down the research to look at where all this leads and who it leads to and all that. So what I want people to do is, if you watch the film, share it with as many people as you possibly can. We need as many people, especially those who don't know about this issue, to begin waking up to this issue. And I think that's the most important thing, that we establish a new baseline of knowledge that we never go back from ever again. We cannot allow this space where they create conspiracy theories from the real conspiracy to be the narrative that everybody comes to accept. And that's what they're trying to do desperately right now, to get ahead, to deflect as much as possible the attention away from the Clintons, away from the guilty parties. They're trying to put it on Trump. They're trying to put it on Barr. I don't have to take a political position to know what that means. The crimes against children are the most important thing. So in our film, the message of love is clear and true, which is all of us can help in our own way. So share that movie as far and as wide as possible on social media. Get your friends around. Share the link. I don't care. I'm not here to make money off this film. I want people to see this movie, and by that effect alone, I will know it's being a success. When Amazon is trying to cut us like in a straight line down, I know we're doing something right.
That's right. That's exactly right, John Paul. And do you have a website?
NoRestrictionsENT.com. If they go and you Google No Restrictions Entertainment on Google, our website will come right up.
John Paul, I'd like to thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. You're an incredibly courageous individual, as is Edgar, in truly educating and empowering every person of the world. And in the process, you help millions of children. Children that prior to your movie were abandoned. And now, because of the presence of your movie and the impact it has, it's an incredible set of loving arms that you have put around all those children, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Dave. Well, I couldn't have done this without you and all the people in the alternative media, because if it weren't for you guys, none of this would have happened. It really wouldn't have happened.
Well, that's very kind of you. And my dad's favorite saying was dream big and dare to fail. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are the epitome of what my dad was speaking about, dreaming big and daring to fail, because in the process, millions of children have become safer. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Dave.
I'd like to thank you folks for joining us today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Get the movie, Amazon or Vimeo on demand. Just type in A Child's Voice. I assure you, it will change your life. Take care until next time.